Nobody expected Charlie Kirk's final night on Earth to end in whispers that would echo far beyond Utah Valley University. Hours before the tragedy that shocked an entire movement, something happened behind closed doors, something his bodyguard would later describe as the moment that still keeps me awake. Charlie wasn't acting like the man millions saw online, loud, certain, untouchable. That night he was quiet, thoughtful, almost unsettled. He'd spent the evening going over his notes for the American Comeback Tour, but it wasn't the politics on his mind. It was Erika, the woman he called his anchor. And whatever he told his bodyguard about her, right before stepping on that stage, has since been locked behind layers of grief, loyalty, and fear. When the silence finally broke, insiders claimed the story was darker and far more personal than anyone imagined. It wasn't about security, faith, or even fame. It was about something Charlie knew, something he felt coming. But before we get to what he actually said that night, you need to understand the hours leading up to it and the strange series of choices that made this tragedy feel almost inevitable. Because once you hear what happened the night before, you'll see why his last words to his bodyguard will haunt people forever. That night wasn't just quiet, it was strange. According to one insider, Charlie Kirk pulled his bodyguard aside after midnight, long after everyone thought he'd gone to sleep. He'd been pacing around the living room, a drink in his hand, his phone lighting up with unread messages from Erika. That's when, reportedly, he said something that made his guard freeze. Charlie allegedly told him, "There's a side of Erika people don't see, and if they did, everything would change." The bodyguard didn't press, thinking it was just stress talking, but Charlie kept going. He said she had become someone else lately, more ambitious, more controlling, and that he didn't recognize her anymore. He said, "She wants to want everything, even me." What makes this so eerie is that it wasn't the first time he'd hinted at something off between them. Just weeks earlier, a Turning Point staffer claimed Charlie confided that Erika was getting too close to people who didn't share his faith. That night, though, his tone was different. Sad, not angry. Almost like a man who'd realized something too late. Before heading to bed, he reportedly told his bodyguard one last thing. "If something happens to me, you'll know why." At the time, no one took it seriously, but in the aftermath of what happened at Utah Valley University, those words suddenly sounded like a warning. And what came next, just hours later, would make everyone question whether Charlie Kirk somehow knew exactly what was coming. Now, everything from this point on falls deep into rumor territory. Stories whispered by people who claim to have been close to Charlie, but never went on record. Still, the details are too specific, too eerie to ignore. According to one circulating account, the morning of the Utah Valley University event, Charlie Kirk's bodyguard noticed something off. Charlie was distant, barely speaking, and when the guard asked if he was feeling okay, Charlie supposedly said, "Just make sure she doesn't call today." No one knew who she was until hours later when someone claimed it was Erika. That's when the gossip really started. People close to the couple began talking about tension behind the scenes, how Erika had grown increasingly involved in Turning Point decisions, and how Charlie was starting to feel cornered in his own organization. One rumor even claimed he'd told his guard that morning, "If I disappear, tell them to look at who wanted the spotlight the most." Of course, none of this has ever been confirmed, but in hindsight, the idea that he sensed danger, not from strangers, but from people close to him, has fueled endless speculation online. And according to those same whispers, the final hours before the shooting weren't chaotic at all. They were chillingly calm, because just minutes before Charlie took the stage, someone says he turned to his guard and said 5 words that would haunt him forever. They say Charlie's last private words weren't about politics, security, or even his speech. They were about her. According to unverified online rumors that have spread in the weeks since his passing, Charlie's bodyguard later confided to a friend that moments before walking on stage, Charlie turned to him with an expression he'd never seen before, a mix of regret and revelation. He supposedly whispered, "If I don't make it back tonight, tell them I finally figured her out." When the guard asked who he meant, Charlie reportedly just smiled and said, "You already know." Then he walked toward the lights, microphone in hand, leaving the guard standing there in stunned silence. Those who claim to have heard this story insist the guard was shaken, that he'd tried to brush it off as pre-show nerves until the unthinkable happened minutes later. After the incident, people close to the inner circle allegedly said the guard refused interviews, repeating one sentence to everyone who asked, "It's not my story to tell." Of course, no credible source has ever verified this exchange. Still, the rumor spread fast online, and it painted a haunting picture of a man who might have known his end was near. And according to the whispers that followed, the bodyguard wasn't the only one Charlie confided in that night. Someone else got a message that has never been made public. After the Utah Valley tragedy, social media went wild with speculation. Posts claimed that Charlie Kirk had tried to send a final message, or that his bodyguard knew something the world hadn't heard. None of those stories have ever been confirmed, and no credible outlet has published evidence of any hidden recording or confession. Still, the internet filled in the blanks. Commenters dissected every video frame, searching for a glance, a whisper, a clue. Some fans insisted he'd predicted his own fate. Others believed people were reading too much into grief. Within days, entire threads appeared claiming to quote unnamed insiders. What's certain is that Charlie's death left a vacuum, and rumor rushed in to fill it. Whether true or not, the frenzy revealed how much influence he held and how deeply people wanted meaning in the chaos. Even Erika's silence became part of the story. Some saw dignity, others mystery. In the end, no one knows what Charlie actually said that night, only that millions are still trying to make sense of it. Days after Charlie Kirk's death, what started as mourning turned into a cultural storm. Millions of supporters flooded Turning Point's channels, demanding answers, clinging to every new update, while online sleuths spun theories faster than journalists could fact-check them. Some claimed the event had been predicted. Others blamed security failures or secret enemies. Almost none of it was verified. But the speculation gave people something to hold on to when facts felt too heavy. Through it all, Erika Kirk stayed mostly silent. Her brief public statement focused on faith and forgiveness, but her quiet presence only fueled more online chatter. Some saw her composure as strength. Others misread it as mystery. It was a reminder of how the internet can turn grief into narrative, how every pause becomes a clue and every expression becomes evidence. Weeks later, when Erika was elected to lead Turning Point USA, the commentary split again. Supporters called it a continuation of Charlie's vision. Critics called it calculated. But beneath all the noise, one truth remained. Charlie Kirk's influence didn't end that night. It multiplied. His ideas, his followers, his controversies, they all became part of something bigger than him. And maybe that's why the rumors never fully faded. Because in a world that moves too fast for certainty, mystery feels like the only thing that lasts. In the end, no one knows exactly what Charlie Kirk said that night or what he truly meant. The verified facts end where the human questions begin. His death became more than a headline. It became a mirror reflecting how the world handles power, faith, and the spaces in between truth and speculation. Rumors still circle about what he told his bodyguard, what he felt before the speech, and what Erika may or may not know. But maybe that's not the point anymore. Maybe the real story isn't about uncovering a single truth, but about the way people need mystery when loss feels too big to understand. Every generation finds its legends, and this one found Charlie's in the space between silence and story. Today, Erika carries his legacy forward, while critics question what that legacy even means. The speeches continue, the mission lives on. But for those who followed him, one question still lingers. The same one his bodyguard reportedly asked himself that night. What did he really know? And why couldn't he say it out loud? And that's the haunting part. The idea that some truths never die. They just echo, waiting for someone brave enough to listen.